Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Here we are again reviewing online. I'm sitting here with my window wide open, listening to the birds. And I was thinking, as I was looking at the calendar, I was thinking how, wow, some of you are pretty intense right now as far as the amount of things going on if you have multiple AP classes. Because I noticed that a week from today is AP Gov, a week from tomorrow is AP Calc. I think Lit is this week as well. We're 2 weeks from tomorrow. You guys just have some things coming up. I believe in you. I just want you to really hear that and feel that from the bottom of my heart. And I think if any of you decide not to take this test, it would be a mistake. Please pass that information on to your friends that are taking AP Psych that are not tuning into my videos. If you could, just try to encourage other people and pay it forward a little bit. This year is the year to take the test. I'm planning on our last week being a week where we will do a mock FRQ where you get a feeling of what that time constraint feels like for yourself. I have our class signed up for a nationwide review exam day. So it should be kind of fun and get you playing against some other people. And I'll talk to you guys about that on Thursday at our Zoom. It was great today seeing some of you when I delivered the cupcakes to your houses. It was also nice just chatting with the rest of you over the phone. So without much further ado, let's get going. And I'm going to get the screen up. Ooh, doesn't look like I have it. Dang it. Well, let me go here. So sorry about this. Get back to there. Now I should be able to share my screen with you guys. Yep. All right, so here we are. I created the methods review packet answers for pages 9 and 10. I hope you guys are sticking with that and you're continuing to space out your learning. It's really, really important that I can't stress it enough. This week, the units are memory, which is basically cognition, thinking. There's language in there. And then there's a little bit, the unit of testing is also something that you should be kind of pacing yourself and going over those two primary chapters. If you've been up to date and you've been doing everything that I'm asking and you've spaced it out, this should be your last week for your chapter reviews. And then next week, right, the week before the exam, it should be more of like, hey, let's try to practice a little bit here. So those of you who haven't tried the Methods FRQ packet, I would also like to encourage you to do this. We know for certain that the College Board is going to have one of your FRQs that is similar to the layout that you've seen in this packet. So this was the study. It was a pretty lengthy one again. So in a study of power and self-image, participants were not told the true purpose of the study. Right away, I had a red flag when I read that. Instead, they believed they were participating in a business simulation. Researchers randomly assigned participants. I underlined the word random assignment when I was reading this. I didn't on the PowerPoint, and I apologize. But I knew that that might be something that is important, to a high power group and a low power condition. Those in the high power condition, participants recalled a time when they had power over others, and in the low power condition, they recalled a time when others had power over them. Participants were asked to adjust the height and centimeters of an electronic graphical image, an avatar of themselves, to reflect their personal appearance. Results indicated, and I underlined this when I read it the first time, a statistically significant difference in participants' perceptions of their own height across two conditions. Participants in the high power condition created taller self-images, and the numbers are there, and then participants in the lower power conditions. So as always, when I'm reading these, I take a scrap piece of paper and I jot down just some of the most important pieces and components of that very lengthy prompt. What I got out of that in a Cliff Note version is the study was designed to look at power and self-image. The first sample, group A, had 44 people. The second sample group had 44 people as well. They were randomly assigned to each group, so that's a good thing. The high power group, they had to, basically these were the times when they had to remember times when they had power over other people. The low power group, they had to remember times when people had power over them. When in the high power group, when they started to remember times when they had power over other people, their avatar was much taller. When the low power group, when they had to remember times when people had power over them, their self-image avatar was much shorter and smaller. The results, they deemed it as statistically significant. Group A had a mean of 6, standard deviation is 1 and 0.5. Group B, mean of 4, standard deviation of 1. So the first question, describe the levels of the independent variable. Just to remind you what the independent variable is, we talk about this is the cause and the effect. Independent variable is the cause. It's manipulated always. That's a really, really important word, manipulation. And the effect is what is being measured. So this is the dependent variable. This is my independent variable. Over here, what are the levels of the independent variable in that prompt? You must state that the independent variable has two conditions. You have a high power group and a low power group. Or you could have also said the participants must recall a time when they had power over someone, and then the other group had to remember a time when someone had power over them. You would not have been able to just say half of this and receive points. Again, you couldn't just say half of this one and receive points as well. You had to say both of them. Question number 2, describe how the researchers measured the dependent variable. Well, if you had a larger avatar, then you know that you had a higher self-image or self-esteem when you remember times when people had power, you had power over people. And then if you had a smaller avatar, you can see this guy is a lot smaller than this guy over here, then you are recalling times when people had power over you. So it definitely impacted your self-esteem. So you had to say something basically about how the height of the visual representation in the avatar represented the dependent variable. Number 3, they were asked to create a bar graph illustrating the results, and then you had to correctly label the bar graph. If you did not correctly label it, I actually scored this one, this FRQ that year, and there were a lot of kids that actually didn't even know how to label the bar graph. So your graph needed to be very simple in order for you to score this point. Let's just start with some of the basics. Your independent variable goes on your x-axis. That will never change no matter what the prompt is. That's the horizontal axis. Your dependent variable should go on the y-axis. So students that year when this essay came out, if they flipped these two, they actually did not receive the point for the score. So you must label it correctly. We also had students that didn't even label anything at all. You actually had to say any of these would work, independent variable or high power, low power group. Or on the opposite side, on my vertical side, you could have said dependent variable or height. So you'll notice that the dependent variable, the height, for the high power group was a 6, my mean. I've correctly identified the means, 6 and 4. 4 was my low power group. And that's all they had to do. One note I want to make sure you understand. They have made it very clear this year that you are not going to have to draw any graphs. So although you will not have to reproduce this graph or a graph similar to something like this, what they may do, however, is give you a graph and you're going to have to interpret what the graph means. So just be aware of that. Number 4, why can researchers claim cause and effect relationship between my independent and dependent variable? In order to earn this point, you had to state that this was an experiment with a researcher manipulating the independent variable. You had to say the word manipulation or something that meant manipulation. You would not have received the point if you did not state that the independent variable was manipulated by the experimenter. That's what makes That's what enables a researcher to say, this causes this to happen because I manipulated this, and then I controlled this piece of it, and then I measured what were the results. Stating that the experiment was solid because of random assignment would also work. Number 5, what is the meaning of statistical significance in the context of the study? I copied the same slide that I had a few PowerPoints ago. You may recognize this particular slide over here. So I just find it really important. I would be surprised, to be honest with you, if they didn't say something about statistical significance this year. Make sure you know the only thing you needed to state for that answer is, let's read it again. What was the meaning of the statistical significance in the context of the study? The meaning is, if it's statistically significant, then the results are not likely to have occurred by chance. I highlighted the word chance, I bolded the word and italicized the word chance because you had to say that. It wasn't just some random fluke of a reason that the avatar was larger in this group and smaller in this group. We actually note that this was a valid, the results were actually valid. It means that the independent variable did not cause changes in the dependent variable. So something to think about. I also brought out, I don't know if you guys remember, I gave you this. It was on one of the first days. It was a chart that had all these graphs on. I told you to print it out. Might be very helpful for you to actually take a look at that. In that, it talks a little bit about statistical significance as well. All right, number 6, why is debriefing necessary? Again, this slide should look familiar. Again, memorize these particular 6 forms of ethical guidelines. You'll notice number 6 down here, as far as the APA ethical guidelines, is debriefing procedures. So why is it necessary? Because you actually have to, because they've been lied about it. They were actually misled, and they were misled so that they get accurate results. This misleading of the purpose of the actual experiment did not do them any harm, so it was perfectly ethical. It's just at the end of the experiment, when it's all over, the participants actually have the right to actually be told the truth. So they needed to know that it was a business simulation. They need to be told it was not a business simulation. Now for the 3 multiple choice questions. 16, drawing a random sample of people from a town for an interview study of social attitudes ensures what? A is the correct answer. Each person in town has the same probability of being chosen for the study. I wanted to include this slide because I could see them potentially using a word like random sample or random assignment. They're easy for our students to get mixed up. So just keep them nice and straight, nice and clean in your head here. Remember, random sample is you take the entire population, and these 6 people have a chance of being pulled from all of this population. Random assignment, those same 6 people are now having the same equal amount of chance to be in the treatment versus the control group. So we've just taken these 6, moved them on over here to our group that is now our random sample. Now we have to decide who's going in the treatment group and who's going in the control group. You'll notice not all the orange people are up here in the treatment group, and not all the blue people are down here in the control group. They have a mixture, and that gives you a better probability that your results will be statistically significant. Speaking of statistical significance, the last 2 questions on the multiple choice are stressing statistical significance. This is a very lengthy question. An instructor conducted an experiment to determine the effects of 2 different methods of study on the amount of students learned in the intro. The results show the average amount learned in the group using one method was greater than the average learned by the group in the other. And then I highlighted the important piece here. However, the difference was not statistically significant. What conclusion can you make? You should immediately, automatically, based on what I've been stressing to you in these PowerPoint presentations, if it says it's not statistically significant, you could say that maybe the results were due to chance. Maybe one group was just stacked and they had all the people in that group that were able to learn at a different rate. Now, taking that cue, you'll notice AP Psych loves to stress this term. So both of those multiple choice questions were taken from random released exams that I've accumulated over the years. And they keep stressing the statistical significance point. In experiment psychology, a statistical difference refers to, again, a difference is not likely due to chance. So just keep that in mind. If you get a word, if they want you to describe statistical significance, just make sure you say if it happened, it happened. That if we do have a large amount of statistical significance, we know it wasn't because of chance. That's the key important takeaway for today. And you don't have to really go into an elaborate, really big discussion. The big key word is chance or not chance, depending upon if it was statistically significant or not. So I hope you guys found that helpful for yourselves today. Again, try to enjoy yourselves a little bit. I know these upcoming 2 weeks for people taking multiple AP tests are very stressful and hectic. I'm checking my email daily, multiple times a day. So if you email me any questions, if you just need a little bit of reassurance, if you want to just chat, I can do that too. But just to know that I believe that this is the year to take the test. In my gut, I really do. I've been asked to be an AP reader again, and wouldn't it be just wonderful if I was able to get our test and I would be able to grade all your exams? But have a great day. That probably would be very ethical, I'm sure. Have a great day, you guys. I'm making dinner tonight. It's my night. I'm going to make some poke. And if you don't know what that is, you should look it up because it's super yummy. Take care. Bye. Be psych.